I'm Nicole Holcomb, the host of the Dyslexia Mom Life podcast. I help moms raising children with dyslexia get clarity to set goals for their children to thrive with dyslexia. What do I mean by thrive? So many children with dyslexia are struggling academically, who aren't yet identified with dyslexia, or they aren't receiving enough remediation, and as a result, these kiddos are experiencing low self-esteem, a low self-confidence, and high levels of anxiety. I help moms create plans to address the academic, social, and emotional goals while recognizing and nurturing their children's strengths and passions. With over 20 years of experience as an educator and school counselor, and more importantly, as a mom raising an amazing daughter with dyslexia, I get it. I can't wait to help you get clarity and ditch the dead end for a road to thrive. Let's get started. Today on the podcast, we have Roni Battoglia, and I am so delighted to have her as part of our summer discussion this month in April to learn all about what we should be doing over the summer to help support our amazing dyslexic kiddos. And so, Roni, welcome to the show. I am so honored that you're with us today.
Well, thank you, Nicole. I'm so excited that you reached out and that I could be part of this. I think the work that you're doing is amazing.
Well, thank you very much. Let's start a little bit by just introducing yourself to those who may not know you and just give a little bit of background, just to kind of give a little context before we get into the summer discussion.
Sure. So as you said, my name is Roni Battoglia. I am a native New Yorker, however, moved to Atlanta, Georgia about 25 years ago. I have always had a passion for working with students who have learning differences. In fact, the last 25 years, that is what I dedicated my career to, working with students, with parents, and with teachers, just broadening not only the knowledge base, but research and practice, best practices for working with students with dyslexia in particular.
All right. And where are you at currently? What are you doing currently?
I am currently the lower division director at the Swift School, which is in Roswell, Georgia.
Awesome. And how long have you been there?
Oh, I have been here for 10 years. The school has been in existence for 21 years, and we are a school who works with students with dyslexia in grades 1 through 8. And we're, relatively small in size. We are a community of about 130 to 140 learners, with all faculty and staff trained in the Orton-Gillingham approach and multiple hours in the field of dyslexia and language-based learning differences.
So you know a thing or two about dyslexia and summer, I would imagine, especially working with those grade levels. So let's talk about, well, before we go there, let me just step back for a minute for people that may not be as familiar with these types of schools or as familiar with Swift. Is your school a school that is kind of considered a transition school as far as kids come and get remediated for a few years and then they go back out and y'all support them transitioning back out? Or is your school a school that students would enroll in first grade and then stay till the end of the school, grades that were available? Because I think sometimes people may not be aware of that.
Correct. That's a great question. So what I always say, we are everything that individual student needs. We are a remediation school. So students typically come for 3 to 4 years, and that they're ready to transition. Whether it is in a traditional school, many of our students do transition to public schools, or other private schools that may offer some support, but not at the level that we need to provide here at Swift. And we have probably about 15 students in our history who have stayed 1st through 8th grade. It really is dependent upon what that child needs. We do follow the standards, so students are able to matriculate back to another school if and when they are ready.
Thank you. And do you find, we'll talk about summer here in a minute, but do you find that the students, once they leave Swift, do they still come to the summer program, some of them, or are they ready to completely, I don't want to say sever ties, but are they completely ready to go out on their own? Or do you find that having a summer program also continues to benefit students even after they leave the program?
Yes, they do. We do see students who transition come back to our summer program just for, let's say, a tune-up, so to speak.
Right. That's a great way to say it. I love that.
A little tune-up, or really to move them forward, whether it's on the Orton-Gillingham sequence or build foundational math skills. We offer a full-on program, clinics and tutoring. So really those families can come back and get their needs met in a variety of different ways.
Great. Well, let's talk for a few minutes about the benefits of summer. So imagine I'm a mom that's called you. I'm pretty new to dyslexia. Maybe I've just, realized a few months ago, and maybe I'm getting some tutoring support for my child. Maybe I'm not a Swift student, but maybe I'm my child's a student that is still just struggling. And, I find out about your summer program. But before we get to there, some moms may be thinking, right now where we're living is so unique, right? We've had this pandemic that's still lingering on. I've talked to many moms that are in states where they're still kind of in lockdown. They're still virtual learning. Where in Georgia, we have kind of some schools are virtual. Some parents have decided to go virtual. Some of us are face-to-face. It looks really different than any other time that we as adults have experienced this. So having said all that, I feel like some moms may be positioning themselves to say, okay, finally, I'm going to get 6 to 8 weeks off or however long their summer break is. But I would really love to talk about the benefits of summer school, or not really summer school. I don't like to call it that because there's a stigma around that, but having continued summer support for our children that are dyslexic, because unfortunately we know they really can't, I don't want to say benefit, but they really can't take the summer off. Like, it's just not in their best interest. And so people ask me, well, why do you think that? So that's why I wanted to create this amazing summer, discussion in April, because I do believe it's important to have a balance, but we'll obviously talk a little bit about that. But can you give some information to families as far as, why should I, as a mom, even be considering summer? Isn't summer when we just take time off? Like, what do I need to know about summer and dyslexia?
And I agree with you. After the year that everyone has been through, it would be so easy to say, thank goodness it is summer, it's time to relax. But if you think about the dyslexic learner or any students who learn differently, they continue to work so hard during the school year, and this year more than any, focusing on that language acquisition, the schedules, what curriculum they have, and the routines. And it is often thought that as summer rolls around, it's time to take a break from all that hard work and just relax. But research actually shows us the complete opposite. It shows that when the summer months do roll around, it is crucial for at-risk students with any type of learning difference, especially dyslexia, to avoid that summer slide, that regression of skills and core knowledge that they have built up over the school year. And again, research shows that when students return to school, the data shows that they begin with a less competency than they have demonstrated the previous spring, whether it be on progress monitoring that the teachers have done or school assessments. So, part of any school, and especially one of the goals here, is to offer an array of summer programs to prevent that summer slide from occurring, right?
And I love that you said, let me jump in real quick, Roni. As I also love what you said a few minutes ago too about that regression. That's the word I was trying to think of, because we do see that. And I think you alluded a little bit to this too, is I think about even going into the fall as an educator in my past, that, our children being anxious about school too, because there is a level of anxiety for our children sometimes. Excuse me. And so if you think about students who maybe are not able to do additional studies over the summer, they go into the school year with that regression, and then some anxiety and some self-esteem, low self-esteem, that had they continued to work on those skills over the summer, or even maybe had a little idea of what to expect in the fall with curriculum, it really kind of gives them a jump start, really. Yes. So I love that you shared that. That's the word I was looking for a while ago, was regression.
And it is proven. It used to be a myth, right? Oh, sure. They'll catch up because they knew that. But what we know is that repetition and review is the key to implanting that knowledge into their working and long-term memory. So without that review and repetition throughout the summer, they do have that summer slide. And I agree with you. It may be that it does raise their anxiety at the beginning of the year because they say to themselves, I knew this. I learned it, but I just can't remember. So summer programs don't necessarily need to teach new skills. It's that review, that reinforcement, maybe take that skill up another notch, but not necessarily to jump them to the next grade level. It's to keep all those skills current and so that they could pull them out of their toolbox when they start the next grade in the fall.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just thinking too, one of the things I was talking to someone about the other day too, is that, you know, as a parent, you're thinking about kind of framing your summer, and you're right. There's so many repetition skills. And I guess I just want to make a clarification when I was talking a while ago about just thinking about next year, not necessarily skill level, but just like if they're going to study a particular piece in social studies, like that could be something they're reading about in the summer with their family. So then when they get introduced to something in history, it's not like the first time they've heard it. So they already have that kind of exposure to some of the subjects that they might be, be learning about next school year. So I just want to make sure I clarified that, because I didn't want someone to think that I was suggesting that they're going to learn a whole bunch of new OG rules over the summer. That's going to be that review and repetition, perhaps. But as they go into next year, are there other pieces that, you know, maybe your child is a huge history buff, and so they want to learn, and you're able to go to museums and they're able to get some really hands-on learning. So then when it's introduced in the classroom, they feel so much more confident, because they're like, oh yes, I remember reading a biography with my mom about that or whatever. And although that may sound kind of boring to say, read a biography, you know, find something that's fun with your child, but also things that would also get them some exposure to the next curriculum. And I think that helps with the anxiety too, because not everything's so new and so overwhelming for them.
Exactly. And, you know, that's what we believe at Swift. We assign our summer reading based on what they're going to encounter the following year. And I love what you just said about going to museums, going to zoos, because regardless of where a student is going to school this past year, and maybe they're sitting at home, those schools will assign summer reading. And it is often a struggle, right? Because our kids, we know, are struggling with decoding, reading those words on their own. It's a challenge. And oftentimes parents find themselves in a little bit of a power struggle, I would say, at home, because they have to finish that summer reading, but don't necessarily know how. There are so many tools and strategies that parents can use to support their children at home with that summer reading. Use of audiobooks, Learning Ally is great, ebooks or Bookshare. Those are among my several of my favorite resources that any parents can go on and work with their school to get a subscription. But the best advice I have for the parent is to read that book ahead of their child. Discuss the vocabulary or ideas that may be new, and then read it together, stopping along the way to talk about what they notice, what they wonder about. And then, just like what you were saying, find connections in the community or the surrounding area to explore and make that new vocabulary stick with that visual or that experience. You know, we live in a wonderful state of Georgia, right? We have several museums and parks and zoos and gardens. Families should take advantage of that, make that learning fun over the summer while preparing them for the content of the next school year. I think that was such a good point that you brought up.
Absolutely. And too, you know, one of the things I think of when I think about, I guess, because I consider myself a lifelong learner, like I'm always, that's just my personality. I'm always learning and exploring. And so I think if we can instill that in our children early on, a love of learning, then it doesn't feel as much like work. Although we know for our dyslexic kiddos, it feels like work. Those years are difficult years. We know that. But if we can try to, be very intentional about the things that we're doing. Maybe we're going to visit family and we realize there's a museum there that, or there's a particular park that has some historical significance or whatever it might be, or maybe there's a speaker there that's, an author tour or, there, some things are still limited because of COVID, but things are starting to kind of open up a little bit and people are, a little bit more open to travel and looking around. But like you said, even in your own towns, you can find things. And then, you know, I have a love-hate relationship with social media, but there is a lot of great resources. So if you wanted to look, you know, like a YouTube video, like sometimes they had a lot of virtual tours at a lot of the museums during COVID. You know, like you said about reading, I would definitely watch those ahead of time to make sure they're appropriate, because anything that's put on YouTube, you know, doesn't necessarily have a censor on it. But, you know, there's other ways that you could be creative and get your children involved. And most kids love to watch YouTube. So if you can find a way to incorporate that, if you're not able to travel, then that's another avenue to be exploring.
And we know our students learn best when there's a visual paired with the words and the auditory information, and then they do something with it. So exploring piece, that multisensory piece, it allows them to make those connections, those movies in their minds that it's easier to retrieve during the school year, right? So anything having to do with travel, animals, nature, you know, summer is a great time to get outside and just do those science experiments, right?
Absolutely.
Resources online, you know, those STEM and science, technology, education, engineering and math. I think that those are all wonderful.
So before we jump into, because I do want us to spend a good amount of time talking about the programs at Swift, because y'all appear to have some, well, I know you do. You have some amazing programs, and I think you've even added some things for this summer. So before we go there, though, if there's a parent listening that a summer program, like maybe they don't live in Atlanta, or maybe they're in a place where the travel is just not possible to get to an actual summer program. Although I will put a plug in that several of the schools I've researched also have an online or a virtual camp this summer to continue to support families. So I would tell parents to explore that too. But if there are families that are not able to, maybe they're traveling, or maybe there's a work schedule conflict and they're not able to attend Swift or another school, what would y'all advise parents to do over the summer as far as tutoring support and things of that nature? I know there's a reading list that's provided per grade level to continue to help with that next grade level and to continue to reinforce. But is there anything else she should be looking at if a summer program is not an option for her?
Well, I think if COVID brought us anything, is the amount of qualified, certified, Orton Gillingham specialists that are tutoring virtually. And you don't only need to look in your area for those people. You know, the blessing is virtual tutoring can happen all over the globe now. So, excuse me, looking for those virtual tutors, albeit that our children need that multisensory feedback. So virtual tutoring is kind of difficult, but also getting together and learning together, right? Make your own summer camp. Don't call it summer school. I love what you said. Once you say summer school, kids are not listening to you anymore. But a summer camp experience where you're reading the same book and then you're talking about it and you're looking at it from a lot of different angles. Talking about something, again, is easier than having to sit there and decode every single word. So finding support in your community, making those experiences happen for you and your children, I think. And then again, the virtual tutoring is definitely an idea. And there's so many resources online and associations online. And I think you list a couple on your podcast website. So I think just encouraging people to look out for those.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about Swift. What are some of the programs that you're offering, that your school's offering for 2021? Kind of walk us through that summer explorations and what you have available, and what are some of those benefits that you're seeing for participation, and, just tell us a little bit about your programs.
Excellent. So we've been blessed this year and have been in school all year long. A couple of weeks here or there that we had to shut down or did it proactively, but we are in person during the summer. And I think that's important for any mom or dad looking for a placement for their child, is to try to find something that is in person with, of course, COVID restrictions. So we do have a summer exploration camp program, and it does address reading, math, and the arts. Students meet in small groups, and our classes aren't larger than 7-8 students, meet with a qualified teacher for instruction utilizing the Orton Gillingham approach, multisensory math, And we do a lot of our science integration through STEM and STEAM activities. So again, it's that hands-on summer exploration camp, right? And we utilize a central theme. So all kids in our school camp is open to rising first through fifth grade students. And all of the students, all of the classes learn around a central theme. And this year's summer theme is imagination. And we have all certainly needed a lot of
I love that. Yeah, that sounds
to make
great.
us successful. So
Absolutely.
Again, I mean, think about the possibilities of what you can read and explore and really hone your reading skills doing something that you love, right, with your imagination. And again, our primary goal of summer exploration camp is for the students to retain those important skills learned this previous school year. And of course, the close second is for them to have fun while doing that. All of our students who are new to Swift School, we encourage them to come to our summer exploration to make those connections with new friends that may be in their classes for next year. You know, going back to what you were saying before about anxiety, it takes that away when they come into school that first day and see a friend that they met over the summer and just they glow with happiness. But again, it's small class. It is all multisensory, and being small classes allows our summer exploration director to really place the students where they need to be. What level of reading do they need to be placed on? What are they learning in that Orton Gillingham sequence of decoding? They take the same kids and they partner them together. So it really is differentiated based on that individual child.
Okay, that makes sense. And then is there, I guess, talking a little bit about the day, what is the length of the day for the program?
It is from 8:15 to 1:30, Monday through Friday. It begins right after July 4th, July 6th,
okay,
July 23rd. And, you know, in Georgia, we start school the beginning of August. So
yes,
it does prime those students to keep those skills fresh to enter the next school year.
Right. But still giving families time to travel and to have some time together. So that sounds like that's important too, to have that not only to give the teachers time to recharge, to gear up for July, but it also gives families time if they are wanting to do some trips and maybe visit family and things, especially this year, that gives them the opportunity to do that. That's great.
Especially this year, because everyone has worked double time.
Yeah, absolutely. And so in the morning session, or whether it's the one session, I guess, but in the sessions that y'all have, are there specific times that the student would be doing, what's what I want to say? They have like reading instruction, or is it just kind of dispersed throughout the day? Or is there time that they're sitting down with someone and actually doing one-on-one or in a small group, some type of reading and possibly writing or math, or do y'all structure that by grade level as far as what type of activities they're doing, as far as those remediation skills, or how does that look?
Great question. We always do our reading remediation first thing in the morning when the kids are fresh, right as they've had breakfast. If a child takes medication, it's like right in their system. So every class, and this is why we keep our classes so small, they do their reading remediation first and foremost that beginning part of the day. Then they will all move to writing, because we believe in that the decoding, right? That the reading of the sounds to encoding, the spelling part goes into writing, goes into math.
Right.
The kids do have lunch, and in the afternoon, after lunch, that's when we will do our science exploration, our STEAM activities. We also bring in magicians, because we think about the imagination,
yeah.
Local artists, magicians, and other STEAM. We have our technology administrator here on campus to do a lot of robotics, and that all takes place during that afternoon period. The more strictly academics.
Right. Okay. Awesome. And then just thinking through those summer pieces for students that have the opportunity to go through the summer program. I don't want to say necessarily an advantage, but can you see for those students a benefit that you can not necessarily pick them out, but are you like, oh, I can definitely tell that they had the opportunity to go to the summer program, or especially for children that may have come consecutive summers to your program that also attend your school? Are you seeing a difference in confidence? Are you seeing a difference in skill level? That summer slippage that we talked about? I don't know if y'all do any kind of data tracking or anything for that purposes, but I'm just kind of curious as to what you're seeing from your school level as far as students that are participating in the program.
We definitely do see a difference for those students who either attend our summer exploration program or have tutoring. There isn't as much summer slide. We do assessments with all of our students, even the students who are applying for the next school year, in the spring, and then we do it right in the fall in August before school starts. And we do see a difference, to be honest with you, in that progress monitoring, in their ability to retain what was taught the previous year. So whether it is a full day summer camp experience or one-on-one tutoring, I would encourage families to do something to prevent that summer slide for sure. And what I love is when we see our incoming first graders already have that friendship. Sometimes it's that feeling of ease. Mm-hmm. And even in kindergarten, some of our dyslexic learners, they've experienced stress and anxiety and failure because kindergarten is not what it was when I went to school. We don't play, we learn to read, right?
That's right.
It opens them up to learning because they see how fun learning is during our summer camp.
Yeah, it gives them those times to feel success. So that's definitely important. And
Exactly.
Yeah, to have that opportunity. So for families, we talked a few minutes ago about this, but for families that decide for whatever reason that this year might not be the year for a summer camp, but are going to go the direction of either continuing with maybe a tutor they already have an established relationship with, or they're at the point of looking for a summer tutor. I've always been told 10 sessions an hour a time for summer. Is that about the rule of thumb that y'all recommend too? Or does it depend on the child, or is there a range of, this would be ideal, but I would get the minimum? Do y'all have any kind of recommendations that y'all provide families?
We do suggest 10 sessions, once or twice a week, depending on, of course, vacation schedules, for an hour. Because of that remediation, the review, and everything is very diagnostic in our session. So yes, 10 sessions minimum. If you think about it, it's 5 weeks. And, oftentimes our families decide to do one-on-one tutoring. They don't have to worry about, someone else in the room, and they could do it around other summer camps, right? Or if the kids are horseback riding, taking swim lessons, things like that. And at Swift this year, we are offering in-person tutoring or virtual tutoring, and whether it be in-person on campus or in parent houses. And then something that we are launching this summer, and another need, because we also think about dyslexic learners as only having a struggle with reading, right? But math is a language.
Yes.
Oftentimes, not having a math difference diagnosis, our dyslexic learners struggle with math because of how burdened they are with processing the language of math. We're offering a multisensory math clinic, a 2-week math clinic. We're offering 4 of those because we saw the need. We were seeing the slippage, that summer slide in reading as well as in math. So this is a 2-week experience that focuses on those strong foundation skills of math. They will learn in a very multisensory way, similar to the OG approach. In fact, our teachers use an OG type lesson plan where it's very diagnostic, it's repetitive, and it's review to improve those math skills, working from whole to part. And it may include place value, multiplication, division, whatever those students need. Those are limited in size to 8 students per session because we want to keep it individualized for those.
Right. That's excellent. Yeah, that does seem, there are quite a few parents that reach out to me that with the same concern that math piece, and it is, it's all about processing, and it can be very difficult for children, especially, And then, so it's just yet another layer, right, of things. I do like what you said a few minutes ago. I wanted to just take a piece back for just a quick second, which was, finding that family preference. And so there is a balance of what works for your family dynamics. You may have multiple children, what works for your summer, if you have been, if you have been exploring or throughout this year, you've been doing virtual learning. So you may want to get outside and do like you said, a horseback riding camp. I do think that this is an excellent opportunity in the summers to really continue to foster and nurture those gifts and those passions that our kids have. And that's why I love the thought of, the timing of your program, and then also the time of day. And so it gives opportunities for, if there's some things in June that you want to do, if there's a vacation Bible school, if there's, a science camp, or there's a horseback riding camp, or a soccer camp. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But I also think that it's also important to pair that with some type of, like we were talking about, some type of remediation, that repetition, that just providing that, hopefully getting them ahead of a regression. And then for some children and families, it may be best to go to some type of summer program. I know I spoke to a gentleman not too long ago that has a different summer program, and they were just, many people have told me kids can make amazing progress in the summers, and because it's the one thing they're working on, right? If you think about it, there's not all the other subjects, there's not homework, there's not all these other things that they're trying to compartmentalize in their brain. They can focus on that one aspect. And so I can see where that children can make really big gains in the summer. But at the same time, like we were saying a few minutes ago, I know the first time we did summer tutoring and did some stuff, my daughter was like, so I'm going to summer school? I'm like, no. And so if you have to be careful how you kind of present it, because it is an opportunity to, and many, I mean, probably the majority, if not all, the programs that are summer oriented do have an element of fun, have an element of activities and exploration. And there may even be areas a child didn't realize that they are interested in. So they get the opportunity to explore other areas. And I think that's, that is such a healthy balance for them, because it gives them that other piece to look forward to, maybe in an area that they continue to struggle in. And so they're able to see that success in other pieces of their day. So yeah, I love that you shared that as well, because I think that's an important part of summer.
And we have to remember that our kids are working 100% harder than their counterparts, right?
Right.
Must allow them also to be children.
Absolutely.
Right? You have to find that balance, and any summer program needs to have that aspect of fun or build.
Yeah, I love that too, because that's the thing, you struggle with, especially when you're going down this road of parenting a child with dyslexia. And many times, if you're fortunate enough to find out early elementary, either way, I guess if you don't find out, you're still, struggling with the whole academic pieces. But it's like, at some point, we made it a priority in our family to say, okay, she is young. We still want her to have an outlet and her to have fun. And so I think that's important. I was coaching a mom the other day, and she's like, I feel like I'm doing too much. I feel like everything is, we're going to tutoring 5 days a week. We're doing this, we're doing that. We have OT, I think occupational therapy, like they had a lot of stuff going on. And so we had to talk about prioritizing and what that looks like. But I think for moms, we get so anxious to try to fix it all, right? Because we're kind of in that fix it mode. And then what did we do wrong? How can we fix this? And it's a process, right? And it's just not going to happen overnight. So
it's part of, yes, I know that's the added parent struggle that we didn't know that we were getting in.
Right.
But I think what you just said struck a chord with me too. It's for any parent that's listening, it's try to find a program that also has those added components, right? We don't have a sensory gym for an OT to be here at Swift, but we found this wonderful OT who has renovated a school bus into a OT sensory gym. She comes during our summer program so they can receive their OT while here. Same thing with the speech pathologist. If they can come to that summer program so that at 1:30 they go home and they can swim with their kids in the neighborhood pool, but they got everything in that moment. I think that's another piece, another question when families are going to look for summer programs that is important for them to ask for.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good piece. Thanks for bringing that up. All right. So the final question I have for you is a more general question, not about summer, which is for moms who are just starting out on this dyslexia journey. She's just getting into the journey. Maybe she's a little bit down the path, but she's realizing she's on the wrong road, right? She needs to go a different direction. So she's just kind of perplexed. She's overwhelmed. She feels a little bit alone, although it's a big community, but you have these periods of isolation that you feel. From an educator standpoint, what is, you've worked with lots of children, lots of families. What is some advice that you would give to a mom who is starting out this journey?
Seek others who are in the same place that you are. There is a wide community, and you don't have to be alone. Every state has the International Dyslexia Association that puts on wonderful outreach programs. Call the schools in your area that work with students with dyslexia, that specialize in students with dyslexia, and ask about their parent outreach, because we have found that with a community, you can be free to talk about your struggles, your needs, and also find that psychologist who's done wonders with a family or wonders with a child. So you don't have to be on this journey alone. And even if you're not applying to a remediation school, they will always help you. You can always call them with a question. What resources do I need? Any specialized school on their websites should have resources for parents. We have resources for families, videos of professional development that we've offered for parents, because not only are you just starting out in this journey, but what you will find is that the school and the teachers will be using a completely different language and a different method and way of teaching your child than you experienced. So you want to educate yourself on like what Orton Gillingham is. I've said the word multisensory over and over again today. And I'm sorry, I apologize if many of you don't know what that is, but really just finding ways to educate yourself so you can move on that journey with your child, so you'll feel more empowered.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And thank you so much for your time today. I'm so excited to get this information out to lots of moms and communities so that they can hear. And you're right. I do appreciate that. Like you said, many schools, probably every school I've ever visited their website that are working specifically with children with dyslexia, they do have an amazing host of resources. And it looks a little different sometimes on different sites, but everybody always has some type of information that they provide, which I think is invaluable. So find that place for you. This is a good piece there too. And like you said, just partnering with schools. I just think that's so incredibly important to have that, they're part of your team, to have that relationship. So thank you for sharing all those pieces. And thank you for sharing all about summer.
Oh, you are so welcome.
I hope you have
pleasure.
I hope you have a fantastic 2021 summer. It sounds so strange to say, but I hope you have a fantastic summer.
I know, you as well, and everyone out there listening.
Thank you.